How's it going, everybody? Too Spooky here. And before we get into the actual video, I just wanted to talk about this new intro real quick. So if that doesn't matter to you at all, just go ahead and skip ahead a little bit. You'll figure it out. But anyways, guys, first off, what do you guys think? Do you like it? I know it's a bit longer than the last one, but if the length bothers you, you can always skip ahead at the beginning of the video. I just really quickly wanted to thank you guys for all the support on my change your intro video. I've been planning to change my intro for quite a long time, so it was something that I wanted to do for me, for the channel, not just because other people wanted it. The reason I made that video was mainly just for comedic purposes, to show off all the hate comments I actually got about it. But the hate comments were not the reason I changed the intro. I changed it because I wanted to. Because I felt that we needed to move into the next phase of the Too Spooky channel. And I figured to do that, we just need something new and exciting. So I created this new intro, and I wanted to keep that spooky vibe going, so I've decided that any future intros I make, skeletons have to be involved. But instead of the screaming that a lot of people didn't enjoy, I decided to just add some fresh funky beats instead. So I just wanted to clear that up, that I did this for me and not because of the haters. And again, I appreciate all of you guys for all the support on that video. I was actually very surprised at how many of you guys actually liked that old intro, because as you can see, almost all the comments I got about it were pretty negative. So I apologize to those of you who did like it. Unfortunately, now that I've pushed on forward with this new intro, it's here to stay. But enough of this chit chat, let's get into the actual reason you're here. The top 10 worst devil fruits. Now, I told you guys I would be putting this video out after the previous top 10, the top 10 Paramecia devil fruits video, hit 4,000 likes. And I just wanted to thank you all for all the support on that video and for all of those likes. It shows me that you guys really want these top 10s. The next One Piece top 10 after this one will be the top 10 strongest One Piece characters, and honestly that video is going to be very hard to make and narrow down, so it will probably be a little while before it's actually released. And on top of that, there will be some other top 10s coming out before that video surrounding different series. However, if this video gets an overwhelming amount of support, who knows, I might just end up pushing the release ahead. But anyways guys, today we're going to be counting down the top 10 worst devil fruits in One Piece. Now, I'm sure as most of you know by now, before we get into the list, there are a few things you should keep in mind. The first is that my pronunciation is utterly god-awful, so I will likely mispronounce some names or phrases. The second is that this video will be slightly different than my previous One Piece top 10s. The difference is that instead of looking at strength, uniqueness, abilities, and overall usefulness, we will be looking at the lack of these. So we're going for the weakest, worst abilities, and how unuseful they really are. We're not looking at how unique they are, because honestly some of these are so awful that they're unique in their own way. And in addition to this, we are not going to be focusing on the devil fruit users too much this time around, but rather the fruits themselves as a whole. However, the devil fruit users have a little bit to do with some of them. The final thing is this list will contain at least one of each type of the devil fruits to add more variety. So you can expect to see at least one Logia, Paramecia, and Zoan devil fruit on this list. Now we're quickly going to go over the devil fruit weaknesses. The user of the devil fruit cannot swim after consuming a devil fruit and will drown. They also fall into a very weakened state while in seawater. Sea Prism Stone has the same effects of a devil fruit user as seawater, and will weaken them and cancel out their fruit's powers. Some devil fruits have a natural weakness, such as fire being weak to water. Also, some devil fruits, specifically Logia, are very susceptible to hockey attacks. And now that you know the weaknesses, and everything else you need to know before going into this, let's get into the list. Number 10. The Numa Numa no Mi, otherwise known as the Swamp fruit. This devil fruit was consumed by Caribou. The Numa Numa no Mi has the ability to become the element of swamp, and has the ability to create bottomless swamps which are impossible for someone to escape from. If someone is caught by the swamp, they will sink even faster if they struggle. The swamp created can also be used as a storage space, allowing the user to store an infinite amount of whatever they want inside their body, including people.
Although instead of storing people inside him, he can use the swamp to drown his opponents if he wishes to instead. Like most of the other Logia users, Caribou cannot be hit or sliced because his element is intangible, and any attacks will be absorbed into his body harmlessly. Although this one is much more similar to Blackbeard's Devil Fruit, the Yami Yami no Mi. See, the Numa Numa no Mi cannot allow the attacks to phase through the body, and instead it must be absorbed. Also, since his fruit's ability is mainly useful because of its ability to store things, Caribou's fighting style consists of storing several weapons like Gatling guns and scythes inside his body. The major weakness of this fruit is that the user cannot transform back to their original form if they are confined in a space that their normal body cannot fit in. Because of this weakness, Frankie was able to capture and seal Caribou in a barrel. Also, this fruit has yet to demonstrate offensive capabilities other than drowning opponents into the swamp it creates. Also, since his mud is just basically earth mixed with water, this makes him vulnerable to individuals who can manipulate water, such as Jinbei. And due to the fact that this fruit is a Logia, hockey users can bypass his intangibility. Other than all of that, the user is affected by the standard Devil Fruit weaknesses. So, spoiler alert, this is the only Logia Devil Fruit on this list. And that's because all of the other Logia Devil Fruits are much more powerful and useful than this one. In fact, in my top 10 Logia Devil Fruit video, I left this one out because it was just so bad. Now, why I think it's bad is pretty simple. Literally the only useful thing this fruit has going for it is the fact that it can capture and store items and people inside it. This can be used to store basically anything, so any weapon to his liking can be kept inside, and any one he traps is pretty much stuck. And after a person is captured, Caribou has the option to drown them inside him at any moment he chooses. However, not only is this devil fruit pretty bad, but so is the user. Caribou is worthless. He has no combat potential outside of the weapons he hides. Now, like I said, Logia fruits are generally much better than every other kind of devil fruit. So if I didn't make it a goal to include at least one of each kind of fruit, this fruit wouldn't be on this list, because Logias are better in general. However, since I had to choose one, it was honestly no contest. This fruit has the least amount of abilities compared to other Logia. It has no use for combat except for hiding weapons and drowning people if he's lucky enough to capture them in the first place. And on top of that, the user is one of the most inexperienced, making the fruit's potential even worse. He should just get back to the barrel where he belongs. And although this is by far the worst Logia Devil Fruit of all time, this fruit is still much better than the rest of the fruits on this list, which is why it is down at number 10, making it the best of the worst. Number 9. The Awa Awa no Mi, otherwise known as the Bubble Bubble Fruit. This devil fruit was consumed by Khalifa. This devil fruit gives its user the ability to emit and control soap and bubbles that are created from their body. The bubbles are capable of not only cleaning off dirt, but can also clean off someone's power. The user can essentially drain their opponent's energy with these bubbles and leave them in a clean and shiny state that is extremely smooth. Because of this cleanly smoothness, the user can lose all of their energy, becoming immobile and rather slippery. The user can also shield themselves from attacks by condensing these bubbles together around themselves and encasing themselves into a giant bar of soap. However, the user's bubbles can be easily washed away by water. Because of this, their clean, clear, and under control opponents can be returned to normal by being washed with water as well. Also, although it will not decrease the bubble's effects, a strong wind will blow them away before they can drain the target of their energy. Other than these weaknesses, the user is affected also by the standard devil fruit weaknesses. Now, I'm going to state right now that Khalifa herself is a relatively strong person, so the reason she's here is solely because of her devil fruit. Now, why is this fruit on here? See, making someone immobile by making them sparkly clean doesn't sound like a bad power at first, so how can it be one of the worst? Well, let's start with a comparison. As I'm sure most of you know, some devil fruits have a stronger and weaker version of essentially the same type. For instance, we have the Magu Magu no Mi and the Mera Mera no Mi. In the One Piece universe, lava beats fire. So the Magu Magu no Mi is essentially the stronger of the two fruits when the users face off against each other. The same idea is implemented with the Awa Awa no Mi, and its stronger, more useful counterpart is the Washu Washu no Mi. Although we don't know too much about it, the reason why it's better is because it does pretty much the same thing as the Awa Awa no Mi. The user washes people and hangs them out to dry like laundry, making them immobile. But on top of that, according to Oda, villains who have been dried get their hearts a little bit cleaner as well. Their evil hearts become fainter, so that's a dangerous ability against pirates. So it has this bonus ability essentially, where it makes people less evil, on top of everything that the Awa Awa no Mi can do, so it's better. So not only is the Awa Awa no Mi outclassed by a stronger counterpart, but the other reason I believe this devil fruit to be one of the worst is because of the weaknesses it has. All you need is to do the ice bucket challenge on yourself and boom, the effects are gone. Or hell, get a squirt gun and start shooting Khalifa. She'd be toast because water gets rid of both the bubbles themselves and the effects of the devil fruit. On top of that, a slight breeze would be enough to put Khalifa out of business because the bubbles would drift away in the wind. Because of both of these weaknesses, I feel like Khalifa would be very ineffective outdoors because of the weather. Say she has to throw down at the basketball court, right? She gets her bubbles going, everything is good, but then it starts sprinkling and slowly turns into a downpour. R.I.P. Khalifa's powers. And if she immobilized the enemy, the effects will also be gone. Or it wouldn't even have to be rain, too. Say it just happens to be a windy day. Her bubbles will just float away in the wrong direction and end up hitting some poor kid with a ball. Bottom line, this fruit is still much better compared to the rest on this list, trust me, but its abilities are just too circumstantial to be useful. And on top of that, having weaknesses like that to begin with are just nothing but a setback. Because of that, Khalifa scrubs in at the 9th worst devil fruit. Number 8. The Shiro Shiro no Mi, otherwise known as the Castle Castle fruit. This devil fruit was consumed by Capone Beji. Now this is by far the most controversial devil fruit on this list, and most of you probably don't think it should be on this list at all, and won't agree with me. But just hear me out, okay? Although first, let's find out what this devil fruit does, shall we? So the main strength of this fruit is that it allows the user to become a living fortress, a castle human. The inside of their body holds many openings, including cannon ports and drawbridges. Deeper inside contains various rooms ranging from stone brick rooms for combat to well-refurbished meeting halls, complete with long table, chairs, and even decorations. The user can hold living people inside their body by shrinking their sizes as long as they are within a vicinity near or in the user. When the objects and people within the user reach a certain distance away from the body, shown as a pinkish layer of an unknown aura, centered on the user's location, they revert back to full size. In addition, the user's castle defenses can be deployed in a circular formation to give the full 360 degrees of protection and attack coverage, as well as the potential to conduct surprise ambushes. The user has complete control over the fortress inside their own body and can telepathically move around and create objects on the inside as they see fit. They can also manifest features of a fortress on their external body, including tank treads. The user can also create a miniature version of himself inside the fortress, through a strange fluid as a way to communicate with those inside. However, Capone can also just talk on the outside to be heard. They are also capable of being alert and moving around in the real world while also being in their own body. The fortress can also take structural damage, such as by catching on fire, although it is unknown how this affects Capone's body. Anyone can escape his body should they simply exit through an opening, so the user must monitor prisoners at all times. Other than that, the user is affected by the standard devil fruit weaknesses. Now you probably think I'm crazy, but the only reason why I feel this is a controversial decision is because Capone can create tank treads on his exterior body, meaning he could theoretically create other things on his body, like maybe cannon arms or something, but we don't know if that's possible. If he could, that would be pretty cool, and it could make this fruit much more useful. But honestly, those tank treads are the only redeeming quality to me. Now, why did I put Capone on the list of the worst devil fruits? Well, I'll tell you why. See, Capone's abilities rely solely on the fact that he has a pirate crew to be inside him. What is a fortress without an army? Well, it's just another building. If Capone didn't have a crew, if he didn't have anyone by his side, if he was alone, his power would be useless. He'd be nothing but an empty shell. Now, I was thinking about this, and Capone can create a smaller version of himself inside himself, right? But we don't know if he can react with anything as his smaller self. If he could just use a cannon inside himself as himself. But still, that doesn't allow you the ability to do much because you are one person that is inside nothing but an empty shell of yourself. I suppose he could be useful for keeping prisoners inside him though, since he can alter the inside structure. But unless he has a crew to fight inside him, he's essentially worthless. Take away the army, you take away the power. And if you have no army to begin with, this fruit is as worthless as it can get. Also, if you really think about it, Caribou is basically a way better Capone, because he can suck people into his swamp and he can store weapons inside him that he can use at any time. However, he doesn't need an army to do it. Also, he can drown people. Can Capone drown people? Nope. Can he function without a crew? Nope. Does he suck? Yep. Due to that fact, it is just too circumstantial to be useful. And because of that, I believe this fruit is one of the worst. And because of that, this is the 8th worst devil fruit. Number 7. Blamco's unnamed devil fruit ability. We don't know a whole lot about this guy, his fruit, or his abilities at all. Most of you probably don't even know who the hell this guy is. Hell, I completely forgot about him until I started researching for this list. So because we know so little, I'll keep this one short and sweet. Blamco has an unnamed ability that allows him to store objects in pockets on his body regardless of the object's size. So it's probably called the pocket fruit or something. Anyway, the storage area is connected to the pockets on his chin area. Any limitations to his power are unknown. So far, he has only pulled out a giant mallet from his right chin pocket. So it's hard to really judge a fruit we know nothing about, but to me, this guy is nothing but a crappier Caribou. And that's saying something because that guy is worthless. See, Blamco has the ability to store things just like Caribou, but instead of being able to drown people, we only know that he can take stuff out of the 2 pockets on his chin, making his area of access to his storage very limited. Like, what if he can't use his hands? How's he gonna grab anything out of there? Really, the only thing I feel like this fruit would be useful for is if he could store people inside as well. Like, if he can store a hammer of that size, I think it's possible. Also, this fruit is essentially the weaker version of the castle fruit in a sense, because it has the same storage capabilities but less openings, and there's just so much we don't know about these pockets. Bottom line with this one, it's essentially a worse Caribou and Capone. It has less access, and the only use for this fruit is storing stuff. I mean, you'd never need a backpack again, but that's about as far as the usefulness goes. This fruit is as useful as Mr. Krabs' pants with all the pockets. And because of that, and because we don't know enough about it to place it any higher or lower, it remains the 7th worst devil fruit.
Number 6.
The Shari Shari no Mi, otherwise known as the Wheel fruit. This devil fruit was consumed by Sharinguru.
What the hell is a wheel fruit? And who the hell is Sharinguru?
Well, Carl, just like the last guy, I forgot about this guy's existence. And those of you who have watched the anime probably had no clue this devil fruit existed. Why? Because it was only shown in the manga that Sharinguru had this devil fruit. In the anime, he only used a sword. So this is one of the only manga-only devil fruits, guys. On that note, you can probably already imagine how bad this thing is if it wasn't even shown in the anime. But let's get into what it does, shall we? This devil fruit allows the user to transform their arms and feet into wheels, making the user a fucking wheel human. The only quote-unquote strength of this fruit is that when the user turns his arms into wheels and spins them at high speed, they become spinning weapons that apparently can be used to attack their opponents. The fruit so far does not seem to have any specific weakness outside the standard devil fruit weaknesses. However, it appears that when up against metallic-like bodies such as Frankie, these wheels have little to no effect, meaning they aren't that powerful. So where the hell do I even start? Do I even need to explain why this guy is on this list? I suppose so. Well, this guy can turn into an assault wheel, but he's not very powerful, so his power doesn't help him in combat, like, at all. I suppose if he grabbed a knife and spun his arm really fast, that might be pretty effective actually. Because of what he could theoretically do to make himself more powerful, I won't put this guy any higher or lower. Because honestly, I'd rather be able to have a fucking death wheel arm than be an empty hollow void on the inside that can do nothing more than hold things. So in the end, I'd be just trying to fill that void with needless things, like whatever I can buy, my emotions, my friends, my murder victims, and my Pokemon cards. In the end though, I just realized I was nothing more than a hollow to begin with, sending me into a deeper crippling depression that in the end makes me take my own life.
Holy shit, Too Spooky. You need some help.
Yeah, I know, Bane. Anyway, because this fruit is essentially useless in combat, there's only one thing it's really good for. And you know what that is? A fucking spare tire. Because this guy's fruit is completely worthless in pretty much every way unless he grabs some sort of weapon to aid his ability. So I'm honestly surprised there are devil fruits worse than this one. But there is. Because of all that, this guy wheels in as the 6th worst devil fruit. Number 5. Kinnemon's unnamed devil fruit. With this unnamed fruit, Kinnemon is capable of creating clothing and disguises for anyone, including himself. This is possible if they put a leaf or stone on their head, with which he can then convert it by saying poof into any kind of clothing or other disguise as long as he can visualize it. Apart from using these as disguises, the clothes created by his power can also be used for other conveniences, such as keeping people warm while in a cold environment. This ability is dispelled if the clothes are removed. With this, he is affected by all the standard devil fruit weaknesses as well. Okay now, Kinnemon himself is a pretty strong guy, so he can hold his own. But this devil fruit isn't that great in my opinion. Now honestly, it was hard for me to think this fruit was worse than that wheel guy. But let's look at why. At least with the wheel guy, and even the storage guys, they had some sort of purpose. Now honestly, I can't think of any way this fruit would be useful in an everyday situation. Yeah, you never need to buy clothes again. Yeah, you can wear literally whatever you want. Yeah, other people can also wear these things. But what about after all that? That's it. As far as we know, this fruit is limited to clothing, so he can't wear like a mecha suit or anything useful like that. However, if he could, hell, I'd take him off this list in a second. But other than being a master of disguise, that's it, out of uses. However, that is not the only reason I think this fruit is bad. The other reason is because of what you need to make the clothing. You need a rock or a leaf. Now, unless you have pockets in your neck with an unlimited amount of these, you're at a disadvantage if you run out. Like, I get rocks and leaves are pretty much easy to come by, but unless you always have one, this ability is worthless because without a rock, you can't even use the ability. So like pretty much all the rest, this devil fruit becomes very circumstantial because of the items. See, I can just go to the store and buy clothes, and those ones won't even disappear when I take them off, thank you very much. Because of that, Kinnemon poofs in with the 5th worst devil fruit. Number 4. The Berry Berry No Mi, otherwise known as the Berry Berry Fruit. This devil fruit was consumed by... very good. Yet another forgettable character, and what the hell kind of name is very good? Come on, Oda. Anyway, I can't wait to get into this one. This devil fruit allows the user to transform their body parts into many different shaped orbs or spheres that are shaped like the round parts of berries, making the user a grape human.
Are you serious? A fucking grape human? My god, how much worse can this list get?
Don't even get me started, Bane. But continuing on, the only strength of the fruit, that's right, only, is that the user is apparently immune to blunt attacks while in the berry form. These berries can all float off the ground as well. And unfortunately for very good here, the user is not immune to sharp objects. It also seems like the user can only transform his whole body at once into these spheres, instead of individually. It is also shown in the anime that the user is completely defenseless if their head is caught. Other than that, the user is also affected by standard devil fruit weaknesses. Honestly, this guy was just begging me to put him on the list. He makes the wheel guy look good. The first thing I want to talk about is how yet again this fruit is one of the fruits that has a stronger counterpart, which is the Barabara no Mi. See, with Buggy's fruit, he actually has the opposite weakness where he is weak to blunt attacks, while Very Good here is weak to sharp slashing attacks. So you'd think, huh, they must be about equal, right? Wrong! See, now with Buggy he does have the downfall where his feet have to stay on the ground, but Buggy can control each individual piece of his body, and he doesn't have to split his whole body to use his power. He can selectively choose which parts to split or split them all. While Very Good over here has to use his whole body, and if you grab his head, he's completely done for. So to me, Very Good is the weaker and less useful of the two. The next thing is that this guy is a fucking grape human. You telling me that sounds scary? That sounds powerful. Being a fucking wheel human or a pocket human sounds scarier than that. Side note, I wonder if that means this guy is literally an edible grape. If that's true, I guess he could eat himself if he was stranded. If that's true, we just found one useful possibility. Holy shit! So the only way this guy can use his power is to separate in defense or throw his grape self at others to try and attack them. And his grapes aren't even strong. You can just punch it out of the way. And if you have some sort of sword, fucking see you later, mate! Very Good is very dead. Because he's a useless grape, because he isn't strong, because there is a stronger fruit counterpart, and because he has a huge weakness which is his own head and swords, Very Good has one of the very worst devil fruits, specifically the fourth. Number 3. Epiota's unnamed devil fruit. Epiota here is another guy I forgot about, so pretty much everyone on this list except for like 2. But anyways, he can transform into a massive caterpillar-like creature. In this form, he can retain his human head and hands, but grows caterpillar-like sections on his chest, with the colored stripes of his shirt seemingly merging with them, and also larger, more rotund forearms. So this guy has an unnamed Zoan fruit that allows him to become a fucking caterpillar. Are you for real? What the hell is a caterpillar going to do to me? I'll tell ya, nothing. Now if this devil fruit could, become a butterfly somehow, that would be much better, but I still can't see it being good even if he could become one. Caterpillars are generally very weak because of how soft they are. So really we just have to step on this guy or feed him to a bird to take him down. As far as Zoan fruits go, this one takes the cake as one of the worst. Nothing sounds less threatening than a fucking caterpillar. And I guarantee almost any other devil fruit would be able to go up against this guy and win with no issues. Now I'm aware Zoans give a little boost to strength, but caterpillars aren't strong, so that boost has to be almost non-existent. And because of that, this fruit makes the top 3 of the worst devil fruits in One Piece. Number 2. The Jake no Mi, otherwise known as the Jacket fruit. This devil fruit was consumed by Kelly Funk. I don't even think I need to explain why this one is here, for those of you who know about it. But I've gotta do it anyways. This devil fruit allows the user to become a jacket that can be worn by others, which makes him a jacket human. A fucking jacket human. This fruit's main strength is that it allows the user to become a full skin jacket that others can wear, humans or animals. The user can then control the wearer's body and gain their abilities, potentially increasing their strength or weakening it. The user still maintains the ability to move and talk while turned into a jacket, but it is unknown if they can force anyone to wear the jacket against their will. Size difference between the user and wearer also seems to be no issue, as the user's size seems to stretch for a wearer who is larger. For all uses shown, this ability seems to require another person or creature as a wearer, and it is not known if the fruit can be useful to the fruit eater alone. Also, as the user's displayed power requires another to wear them, it seems that they need a willing host. Other than that, this fruit shares the standard devil fruit weaknesses. So right off the bat, this fruit is useless without another person. Just like Capone, which automatically makes this fruit one of the worst because it is too circumstantial. But this one really takes the cake. Why? Because you need a willing person or creature for that matter to put you on. You can't force people to participate in your sick jacket activities. The other problem with this fruit is the fact that this strength increase can really only come from someone who is stronger than you. So if someone weaker than Kelly were to put him on, it would essentially have the reverse effect and make him weaker instead of stronger. So this fruit could even backfire if the wrong person wears him. There's just too many problems. On top of that, I must say the jacket fruit has to be one of the dumbest ideas on this list. And I thought the grape and wheel guys were really fucking stupid. But this just isn't a contest anymore. The only way this fruit could be useful is if, say, Ors Jr. or a giant put Kelly on. And we've seen that Kelly can stretch, but we are still unsure if he can stretch that far. But anyway, if he could, yeah, that would be pretty cool and strong and all. But even that possibility is just too circumstantial because we don't know if he can stretch that far. I just can't take it anymore. These fruits are getting so bad. But nothing, I mean nothing, is worse than the last fruit on this list. And the moment that you've all been waiting for. Number 1. The Hito no Mi, otherwise known as the human fruit. This devil fruit was consumed by Tony Chopper. This fruit allows the user to turn into a human. By consuming the fruit, Chopper has been given human intelligence, allowing him to understand and communicate in human language. The fruit has also given Chopper the ability to understand concepts that a reindeer would not originally comprehend, such as medicine and language. It also allows him to transform into human/reindeer hybrid forms. The fruit is further strengthened by the use of the Rumble Ball. This drug allows Chopper to access other forms of varying human and reindeer proportions. The Rumble Ball can come with consequences to the powers of the fruit and the user himself that can be quite disastrous. The main weakness of the fruit is that the forms it gives him do not outright resemble humans and are often mistaken as something else. An example is his human form being mistaken for a gorilla. This is what originally alienated Chopper from both deer and humans alike. However, despite this, one advantage of this is that Chopper can easily hide from enemies while in a form they have not seen before. This fruit's ability is not effective for humans, as if one ate it, they will not gain any abilities, but all the weaknesses of a normal devil fruit. And this devil fruit also gives Chopper 9 different forms he can transform into. And he does not have a specific weakness, but he is affected by all of the standard devil fruit weaknesses. So if you've seen my top 10 Zoan devil fruit video, you'll know that I placed Chopper rather high on that list. So how can I possibly claim that that same fruit is the worst of them all? Well, you want to know why? Because this fruit is only useful to animals, and the chances of an animal finding and consuming it are next to nothing. Luckily, Chopper beat those odds though. But this fruit could do literally nothing if a human ate it, except give them all the standard devil fruit weaknesses. Like, how awful is that? At least Kelly Funk can do something with his fruit. But if some poor chap happens to eat this human fruit, his Olympic swimming career would now be impossible. Because this fruit is one of the most circumstantial of them all, because if any human were to eat it, they would just gain a bunch of weaknesses. Although it has been proven to be very awesome and a useful fruit to an animal like Chopper, but the fact that this ability is limited to animals alone is just too circumstantial. And the fact that there is a devil fruit out there that has the possibility of having absolutely no abilities, it's just god-awful. And because of that, I believe this fruit is the worst devil fruit of them all. But there you have it, everybody, the top 10 worst devil fruits in One Piece. Hopefully you guys agreed with this list today. I know there were a couple on here that were pretty controversial, but hopefully my explanation at least made you understand where I'm coming from. If there was a devil fruit you thought I missed, or a different order of arrangement, let me know what you guys would have picked in the comments down below. But on that note, guys, there will be a couple other top 10s in the near future that are not One Piece related, but the next One Piece related top 10 will be the top 10 strongest characters in One Piece. And that video will be made as soon as this video hits 5,000 likes.
Holy shit, Too Spooky, that's quite a few likes. Are you sure about this?
Well, Bane, the last couple top 10s have gotten outrageous amounts of support. And with all that support, it shows me that you guys really love these videos and want to see more of them. So I'm gonna make you work for it. But on top of that, guys, leaving a like really does help support this channel, and it really does help me out. So in the end, it just means so much to me that you guys would help support me like that. Also, make sure to subscribe if you haven't already. Like I said, we've got plenty more top 10s on the way, and we've got plenty other content on this channel so you don't get bored. And it would just mean so much to me if you could hit that button. Thank you.
Also, don't forget to like and follow Too Spooky on his social media. Links are in the description. Also, Too Spooky has recently started streaming on Twitch, so make sure to go follow that link in the description as well and go follow him over there, so that you can participate in the next Too Spooky stream.
Hey, thanks, Carl. On the topic of streaming, guys, whenever I'm going to be streaming, I will put out a tweet on Twitter, and I will more than likely be putting out a short little video on YouTube that will remain on YouTube until I am done streaming. So if you see that video, I'm streaming, but if it ain't there, well, I'm not streaming. So yeah, go follow me on Twitch, guys. It'll be pretty cool. I'd love to talk to some of you guys. But real quick before we go, guys, I just wanted to give a little shout out to Budde's Tag. I recently recorded drums on one of their songs, specifically the song Bonfire, and it was a really cool experience, and I really like how it turned out. And they are just overall a really awesome band. So if you're into rock music or any other genre that's similar to that, you should definitely go check them out. And you can hear my amazingly not amazing drumming skills. But for real, they're really awesome guys, and they could really use your support. Right now they are sitting at 15 subscribers. So if you guys could go over there and get them to 100, well that'd just be fantastic. I would really appreciate it, and I know they would appreciate it like 500 times more. So thank you guys in advance. But on that note, if you guys cannot get enough Too Spooky content, well why don't you click here for the previous top 10, which was the top 10 Paramecia devil fruits. And if you're just not feeling a top 10, well why don't you click here for 101 facts about Hunter x Hunter. But thank you so much for watching, and I will see you soon.